At exactly 2:36 p.m. on July 11, 2005, a 19-year-old Native American woman named JoJo Boswell walked out of the Steele County Jail in Owatonna, Minnesota. Within minutes, she would vanish without a trace. No body, no answers, no justice. What happened in those final moments before JoJo disappeared forever would expose a system that failed her not just once, but repeatedly. JoJo Boswell was born on September 1, 1985, a member of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe White Earth Band. She stood 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighed around 135 pounds, and had distinctive features that should have made her impossible to forget. A mole on the left side of her face, light freckles scattered across her cheeks, a scar on her right cheek, and an 8-inch scar with possible staple marks running down her right arm. That last scar told a story of survival, perhaps from surgery or trauma. But JoJo never got the chance to tell that story herself. JoJo had been arrested for theft, though the details surrounding her arrest remain frustratingly vague. What we do know is that she had failed to appear in court on a misdemeanor theft charge, resulting in a warrant and a few days behind bars. On that sweltering July afternoon, she was released wearing a black skirt, carrying nothing but the hope of getting home to Minneapolis, an hour and a half away. A Steele County deputy drove JoJo from the jail to a quick-trip convenience store on West Frontage Road. This was standard protocol, but it would be the last act of official assistance JoJo would ever receive. From that gas station, she began what should have been a simple journey home. JoJo called her sister Dolly immediately after her release, telling her she was on her way home. Those would be the last words her family would ever hear from her. Between 2:30 and 3 p.m., witnesses spotted JoJo walking in front of Mills Fleet Farm, just a few miles from the quick trip. She was alone, moving with purpose, probably trying to figure out how to get back to Minneapolis. Then, in broad daylight, on a busy frontage road, something happened that would change everything. An unidentified individual was seen walking up to JoJo. They began talking. The two walked away together. Multiple sources described this person as an unknown white male. And just like that, JoJo Boswell vanished from existence. But here's where this story becomes truly disturbing. When JoJo's sister Dolly tried to report her missing, she was told to wait 48 hours. Think about that for a moment. A 19-year-old woman disappears after being seen with a stranger, and law enforcement's response is to wait. When Dolly returned after the mandatory 48-hour waiting period, she encountered a bureaucratic nightmare, a dispute between Owatonna police and Minneapolis police over who had jurisdiction. Valuable information and evidence was lost in that initial 48 hours and the days following while police departments fought over responsibility. The golden hours when JoJo might have been found alive slipped away while agencies argued over paperwork. Nearly 20 years have passed, and JoJo Boswell remains missing. She would be 39 years old today. Her case has received virtually no media attention, no billboards, no television specials, no podcast series. An internet search produces her picture on missing person websites, but not a single news story can be found from July 2005, when she disappeared. If you're feeling that surge of emotion right now, that mixture of anger and sadness, you're not alone. This story should outrage you. But before we go further, I need you to do something. If you care about justice for JoJo, if you believe every missing person deserves attention regardless of their race or background, hit that subscribe button. Because cases like JoJo's don't get solved by staying silent. They get solved when people like you demand answers. JoJo's family believes that race played a significant role in the lack of media coverage surrounding her disappearance. Recent studies have shown that numerous police departments nationwide are not adequately identifying or reporting cases of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. According to the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, 10% of all missing women in Minnesota in 2024 were Indigenous, despite making up just 1% of the state population. These aren't just statistics. These are daughters, sisters, mothers, friends. JoJo was all of these things. She loved drawing, dancing, and music. She frequented 31st Avenue and 4th Avenue in Minneapolis before her disappearance. Her sister Dolly said it was completely out of character for JoJo to disappear without contact because she checked in with her family daily. Their mother, Geraldine Jackson, shared a touching memory of JoJo as a baby eating green beans for the first time, getting food all over her high chair, face, and hair. Jackson's words haunt with their simplicity. She just misses being able to give her daughter a hug and tell her she loves her. The investigation into JoJo's disappearance reveals troubling gaps. Few details are available about her case. We don't know who the unidentified person was who approached her. We don't know what they talked about. We don't know why JoJo chose to walk away with this stranger. Was she offered help? Was she forced? These fundamental questions remain unanswered after nearly 2 decades. Despite Owatonna being a small town of approximately 26,000 people, nobody has come forward to identify the stranger JoJo was seen talking to. In a community that small, someone knows something. Someone saw something. Someone is keeping quiet about what happened to JoJo Boswell. The Minneapolis Police Department continues to investigate JoJo's disappearance. JoJo's family has provided DNA samples, but there has never been a match with unidentified remains. She is listed as case number MP5197 in NamUs, the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, with 3 exclusions already processed. But here's what makes this case even more significant today. In recent years, Minnesota has taken steps to address the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women. JoJo's story was specifically mentioned during legislative proceedings that led to the creation of a Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Task Force. Her sister Dolly and mother Geraldine have become advocates, carrying signs and trying to raise awareness at events like the Women's Memorial March. The statistics surrounding violence against Native American women are staggering. According to the FBI and U.S. Department of Justice, within Indian country, nearly half of all Native women, 46%, have experienced rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner. On some reservations, Native women are murdered at a rate more than 10 times the national average, often by non-natives. JoJo's case represents more than just one missing person. It represents a pattern of systemic failure that continues to this day. The delays in accepting her missing person report, the jurisdictional disputes, the lack of media coverage, the absence of public awareness campaigns, all of these factors contributed to a case going cold when it should have remained hot. As one online observer noted about the case, "I find it hard to believe in a Midwestern town of 26,000, nobody knew the stranger she was seen talking to or knew where JoJo went." This sentiment captures the frustration that anyone following this case must feel. In 2005, Owatonna wasn't a massive metropolitan area where people could easily disappear. It was a community where faces were familiar and strangers stood out. The timeline of that final day haunts with its specificity. 2:36 p.m. JoJo released from jail. Shortly after, driven to Quick Trip. 2:33 p.m. Seen walking near Mills Fleet Farm. Then nothing. In less than 30 minutes, a young woman's life changed forever, and no one knows how or why. What makes this disappearance particularly chilling is its randomness. JoJo wasn't involved in dangerous activities. She wasn't meeting someone she knew to be threatening. She was simply trying to get home after a minor legal issue, the kind of situation thousands of people find themselves in every day. The fact that she could vanish so completely in such ordinary circumstances should terrify us all. The investigation's limitations become more apparent when you consider what we don't know. Was the unidentified person waiting for JoJo specifically, or was this a chance encounter? Had they been watching the jail for releases? Were they local to Owatonna or just passing through? Did anyone else see this interaction? These basic investigative questions seem to have gone unanswered, or worse, uninvestigated. If this case is affecting you the way it should, if you're feeling that need for justice that drives all of us who follow true crime, then I need you to share this story. Hit that like button if you think JoJo Boswell deserves justice. Share this with someone who cares about missing persons cases. Because awareness is the first step toward answers, and answers are what JoJo's family has been waiting for since 2005. Detective Jim Sandberg of the Minneapolis Police Department, who has worked JoJo's case, stated that everybody has questions about her whereabouts. Obviously, after so many years, you probably tend to believe it's not a good outcome, but there are still questions out there about what happened to JoJo Boswell. Those questions remain as urgent today as they were 20 years ago. What happened during those final moments near Millsfleet Farm? Who was the person who approached JoJo? Where did they go? Is JoJo still alive somewhere? Or did she become another victim of violence against Indigenous women? The case of JoJo Boswell forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about whose disappearances matter in our society. It challenges us to examine how systemic racism affects not just the initial response to missing persons cases, but the long-term commitment to finding answers. It demands that we acknowledge the epidemic of violence against Native American women that continues largely invisible to mainstream America. JoJo's mother, Geraldine Jackson, still holds on to hope, saying that her daughter was only 19 and would just be beginning her life. She was just starting out, just a child who needs to come back so she can live and grow and be with her family. That hope, maintained across nearly 2 decades of silence, represents the strength of families who refuse to let their loved ones be forgotten. It represents the power of mothers who will never stop looking, never stop believing, never stop demanding justice. Today, JoJo would be approaching 40 years old. She might have had children of her own, a career, dreams fulfilled. Instead, she remains frozen in time at 19, walking toward an unknown fate on a summer afternoon in Minnesota. Her family remains frozen too, unable to move forward without answers, unable to grieve properly without closure. The investigation continues, though progress has been minimal. But information requires memory, and memory fades after 20 years. Witnesses move away, die, or simply forget details that seemed insignificant at the time. This is why cold cases matter. This is why we must continue telling these stories, continue demanding answers, continue refusing to let victims be forgotten. JoJo Boswell deserves better than silence. She deserves better than being a footnote in missing persons databases. She deserves the full attention of law enforcement, media, and society. The technology available today offers new possibilities for solving old cases. DNA analysis has advanced dramatically since 2005. Surveillance systems are more comprehensive. Social media can spread awareness faster than ever before. Database matching has improved, yet none of these advances help if a case lacks the resources, attention, and commitment necessary to pursue them. JoJo's case also highlights the importance of immediate action in missing persons investigations. The 48-hour waiting period that delayed the initial report, the jurisdictional disputes that followed, the lack of immediate media attention. These factors created a cascade of lost opportunities that may have sealed JoJo's fate. Every missing person case teaches us something about the systems designed to protect us. JoJo's case teaches us that those systems often fail the most vulnerable members of our society. It teaches us that bias, whether conscious or unconscious, affects every aspect of criminal justice. It teaches us that some voices are heard while others are silenced, but it also teaches us about resilience, about families who refuse to give up, about communities that eventually acknowledge their failures and work to do better, about the power of storytelling to keep memories alive and demand accountability. As we conclude this examination of JoJo Boswell's disappearance, we're left with more questions than answers. But those questions matter. They represent a young woman who mattered, a family that continues to grieve, and a system that must do better. If you've stayed with this story until the end, you understand its importance. You understand that JoJo Boswell wasn't just another missing person statistic. She was a daughter, a sister, a young woman with dreams and fears and hopes for the future. She was someone who drew pictures, loved to dance, and called her sister every day. 20 years of silence is enough 20 years of unanswered questions is enough. 20 years of a family wondering what happened to their daughter is enough. Subscribe to this channel if you believe stories like JoJo's deserve to be told. Like this video if you think her case deserves renewed attention. Share it if you think someone somewhere might have information that could finally bring answers to the Boswell family. Because somewhere out there, someone knows what happened to JoJo Boswell on July 11, 2005. Someone saw something. Someone heard something. Someone has been carrying this secret for 20 years. It's time for that silence to end. It's time for JoJo to come home, one way or another. It's time for justice, delayed but not denied. The search for JoJo Boswell continues. The questions remain. The hope endures. And somewhere in Owatonna, Minnesota, the truth waits to be discovered. Remember her name, JoJo Boswell. Remember her face. Remember her story. Because a voice that was silenced 20 years ago deserves to be heard again. This is her story. This is her family's pain. This is our collective failure and our opportunity to do better. JoJo Boswell, missing since July 11, 2005. Still waiting for answers. Still waiting for justice. Still waiting to come home.